Hare Krishna, everybody. We'll start with the invocation. Om Ajnanatimrandasya Jnananjana Shalaka Chakshurumitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manopistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeyam Shri Guru Shri Uttapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadutam Parijan Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Scha Shri Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vindavaneshwari Shabano Sutadevi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchakalpatarupascha Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Hare Krishna. Thank you all for coming. So today we will be revising Canto 3, chapters 1 to 4, which is Unit 8, where you all will be doing your respective presentations. So without any further ado, let's start with chapter 1.
Hare Krishna. All devotees and Dandavatam Pranam. All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Sri Radha Krishna, seeking permission and enabling me to speak. Hare Krishna. Here, the topics are 10 minutes for me, and Vidura's renunciation and Parik Maharaj's inquisitiveness. A few words will have to be said about the saint Vidura, why he quit the place of bliss. Vidura was always with a renounced temperament, left the palace of transcendental bliss to devote completely to transcendental loving service to the Lord. It was his innate quest as a pure devotee. By the insult of his nephew Duryodhana, Vidura saw that Duryodhana was under the influence of Maya, the external energy of the Lord, and progress towards ruination. Hence, the adversity of family disturbances, environment, the internal by the internal energy of the Lord, he saw the opportunity to quit and live alone in great places of pilgrimage in pursuit of enlightened advancement nearer to the Lord. Being a highly elevated, pious soul, to be sufficiently free from sins and enlightenment in spiritual value, had an opportunity to meet the great soul engaged in loving service of the Lord, Rishi Maitreya, and the discussions were of high order. Parikshit Maharaj's incisive inquiry to Sukadeva Goswami that where and when the meeting of spiritual discussion took place between Vidura and Maitreya Rishi. In Bhagavad Gita, discussion was between the Supreme Person and the Supreme Devotee based on the principles of Bhakti Yoga. PM Parikshit Maharaj, being a serious learner of science of God, approached Sukadeva Goswami, the bona fide spiritual master, and their discussions were of spiritual nature, of very high, elevated order. Hence, Parikshit Maharaj was keen to learn from elevated Rishi Maitreya, and the sage advised him to hear the topic attentively. The second one is circumstances leading to Vidura leaving Hastinapura. Some points may overlap. Despite that, it is appropriate for me to reveal my realization. Sukadeva Goswami explained to Parikshit Maharaj, Dhritarashtra was physically and spiritually blind. His impious activities of greater blunders, for he did not forbid Dusasana his action against Draupadi. Kurukshetra war was induced by the Kuruvas and not by the Pandavas. Due to limited past pious credit, they were bereft of good counsel. They do not take seriously pious advices. For example, Duryodhana as well as Dhritarashtra. Whereas Bhishma understood like nectar. Jaundiced person, for example, cannot enjoy sugar candy. Dhritarashtra sought the advice and counsels of Chanakya Vidura, the authority in good conversation, good in counsel in both practical and moral lessons. Vidura advised Dhritarashtra to return the legitimate share to Yudhishthira. Advice fighting with the Pandavas they will encounter many dangers because they were supported by Lord Krishna. Dhritarashtra offenses were personified a non-devotee, maintained his infallible son Duryodhana by mistaken impression. Vidura advised Dhritarashtra to get rid of his unworthy son, Kali personified, and have political alliance with the Pandavas. Foolish Duryodhana insulted Vidura and was encouraged by his uncle Saguni and Karna, his friend, who in nefarious activities. Vidura realized that Duryodhana was under the influence of Maya, the external energy of the Lord, for ruination. Yet the internal energy of the Lord helped him in that situation. Hence, Vidura, the renunciant, took the opportunity to leave the palace, live in a holy place, to progress in enlightened spiritual activities, and fully engage in devotional service. These are the circumstances in which Vidura left to quit Hastinapur. Hare Krishna.
Okay, very good, Mother Teacher.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I offer my respectful obeisances to our Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ji. Please forgive me for any shortcomings and mistakes. A Vaishnava knows that Sri Krishna is the cause of everything and everything happens according to Sri Krishna's will. Vidura realized this when he was thrown out of the palace. Vidura, his ears pained by the arrows of Duryodhana's sharp words, felt afflicted to the core of his heart. Vidura had no ill feelings towards others. He became tolerant, submissive, and fixed his mind on Sri Krishna. Seeing everything as the Leela of Sri Krishna, a Vaishnava must learn tolerance, compassion, and silence, and practice constant thought of Sri Krishna. So, he left on a pilgrimage to holy places. Vidura could have at once approached Sri Krishna directly, but he did not do so because he was not sufficiently freed from sin. So, he made his pilgrimage as Bhakti Yoga. Vidura visited these temples at least 5,000 years ago, and these temples of Vishnu were in existence long, long ago before Vidura visited them. All these temples were marked with chief emblem of the Lord Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna has only one emblem, namely the wheel. So Sri Krishna is called as Chakri. The Sri Krishna Chakra is the symbol of power by which he controls the whole manifestation. The top of Vishnu temples are marked with the symbol of the wheel so that devotees have a chance to see the symbol from a distant place. The Arka Murtis or forms in the temple are Sri Krishna himself. Sri Krishna has so distributed himself to give pleasure to his devotees and to establish religious principles. Devotees also meet great souls who are already there in the temples doing devotional service. Vidura could only see Sri Krishna in the different forms. While visiting the temples, there is no need to depend on social formalities or occupation or dress. Only thought of Sri Krishna. At the place of pilgrimage at Prabhasa, it came to Vidura's knowledge that his relatives had died due to fratricidal war. A fratricidal war is one in which people kill members of their own society or group due to violent passion, just as at any moment there may be a flare up in the forest fire due to friction of bamboos. A devotee like Vidura, a Narayana Para, never afraid of anything because he is always aware that Sri Krishna protects him. Traveling alone, he reached the bank of the Yamuna where he met Uddhava. Vidura inquired about the well-being of Lord Sri Krishna. Vidura also inquired about all his relatives, though he knew they were no longer in this world. A Vaishnava desires good for enemies also. Anywhere or anytime, pure devotees meet and chant the glories of Sri Krishna. Krishna is present there without any doubt. There is no difference between the Vedas and Sri Krishna. The Vedas aim at understanding the Lord, and Sri Krishna is the Vedas personified. Thus, Srimad Bhagavatam is Sri Krishna himself. Even today, although times have changed, there are still pilgrimage sites in India like Mathura, Vrindavan, Mayapur, where devotees are engaged in chanting the holy glories of Sri Krishna that invokes the personal presence of the Lord. It is said by Sri Krishna himself that he always stays where his pure devotee chants his glory. Thank you. Jai Shri Krishna.
Okay, super excellent. Anybody has any questions, comments, realizations for Uncle and Mother Jija?
They both have done very well, Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Both have presented very well, and Mother Jija's drawings, as always, are very self-explanatory. It was really nice.
Yes. Yeah, very good.
Very nice.
The audio
Very
visual.
well presented. Very well presented by both of them. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, the audio visual has a tremendous impact. I wish I am able to emulate Mother Jija. Thank you.
Okay, very good. Okay, let me quickly summarize Canto 3, Chapter 1 as well. It's a little longer summary because has a lot of points. So Canto 3 is titled The Status Quo. This Unit 8 covers Canto 3, Chapters 1 to 4. This Unit 8 is titled Vidura, Maitreya, Uddhava, and Krishna. These first 4 chapters, the discussion is about Vidura and Uddhava meeting plus Vidura and Maitreya Muni meeting. Canto 3, Chapter 1 is titled Questions by Vidura. The connecting link at the start of Canto 3 from the previous cantos is that in Canto 1, Chapter 1, the sages had asked 6 questions. In Canto 1, Chapter 1, verse number 17 is question number 4, where the sages inquired about the Leela of the Lord, saying, describe about the Lord who performs adventures in his various incarnations, meaning Purusha avatars. That how Krishna performs his activities in relation to creation of the universe. So this is one connection from Canto 1, Chapter 1, which is question 4 of the 6 questions of the sages connected to the start of Canto 3. Hence, there is discussion about Sarga and Visarga in Canto 3. And Sukadev Goswami continues in Canto 3 referring to the conversation between Vidura and Maitreya Muni to answer the questions asked by Parikshit Maharaj about creation. The second link to Canto 3 is from Canto 1, Chapter 13, that at the beginning of war, Vidura left the palace to go to pilgrimage. And after Vidura got knowledge directly from Maitreya Muni, Vidura returned to Hastinapur to help Dhritarashtra also. At the end of Canto 2, sages brought up this point about Vidura getting instruction from Maitreya Muni, and the sages want to continue to hear Krishna Katha, and this discussion between Vidura and Maitreya Muni is how Canto 3 starts. At the very start of Chapter 1, the Dhritarashtra's offenses are described, that because of Dhritarashtra's offense against Pandavas, Dhritarashtra and his sons, their piety was dwindling. Dhritarashtra was materially and spiritually blind. When Krishna came to Dhritarashtra's assembly as peace messenger, Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana did not take Krishna's word seriously. Being inimical to Krishna and Pandavas, hence they could not see the value of Krishna's words. Srila Prabhupada gives the analogy of sugar candy, that those afflicted with jaundice cannot taste the sweetness of sugar candy. But devotees can understand the sweet instructions of Krishna, just as Bhishma Dev, Vidura, and few others understood the values of Krishna's words. It was nectar for them. From the very well-known Vidur Niti verses, Vidura gave good counsel to make political alliance with Pandavas, because fighting with Pandavas is fraught with problems, because universal power, Krishna, is behind the Pandavas. Plus, Vidura asked Dhritarashtra that Dhritarashtra is maintaining offense personified non-devotee Duryodhana. Hence, Dhritarashtra is devoid of all auspicious qualities. Vidura asked Dhritarashtra to relieve himself of all his ill fortune as soon as possible. Duryodhana is bringing ill fortune. Hence, Vidura asked Dhritarashtra to relieve of ill fortune by giving up Duryodhana. Because Duryodhana is just like a blind eye, a source of trouble. A physician may sometimes advise the extrication of such useless eyes, so that one can be relieved of the constant trouble. The learning from the Vidur Niti verses is that offense is very serious. Offenses against Krishna's devotees or Krishna will not like it. Hence, learning is not to offend Krishna's devotees. The solution is to always see good qualities in others. That way you can avoid doing offenses. From Canto 1, Chapter 17, Dharma has taught us to learn to tolerate. That Kali had heard Dharma, and Kali was standing right in front of when Parikshit Maharaj was wanting to know from Dharma as to who heard Dharma. Dharma replied, I cannot figure out. whether it is my karma, whether it is my mind, whether it is nature. Devotees do not accuse wrongdoers because one who identifies the perpetrator becomes the perpetrator. And devotees understand that wrongdoers are made to act for my karmic reaction. The wrongdoers cannot act without the sanction of the Supreme Lord, hence the devotees tolerate. Duryodhana became very angry on Vidura and asked that Vidura should leave the palace only with his breath, means Vidura should not be allowed to take any belongings. Vidura was like a king, but Vidura was insulted badly. Very important learning, Srila Prabhupada says that pure devotees not impacted by activities of external energy. Srila Prabhupada explains how Maya acted both internally and externally. Vidura is teaching us that because someone is hurting me, because this person is acting under Maya, and if I also act or respond in negative way, then I am also similarly under Maya. Rather, I have to act under Yog Maya and act or respond in a positive way. Vidura is Dharmaraj. Without the internal energy helping Vidura, otherwise Vidura would have had to fight against Krishna and on the side of Adharmi Duryodhana. Vidura is able to see how external energy is influencing Duryodhana, and at the same time Vidura is able to see how internal energy is protecting Vidura. Means in Vidura's behavior, there is no trace of dejection. Means in Vidura's intention, there is no trace of ill feeling towards Duryodhana, because Vidura knows what is best for me. If you are able to see how you are under the influence of Yog Maya, means you are not at all affected by the ill treatment that is awarded to you. And at the same time, you are able to also see what is going to happen to the other person, Duryodhana in the example, that because of Duryodhana coming under the external energy of the Lord, so when you are able to see both these points, the Yog Maya portion and the Mahamaya portion, then you are a pure devotee. If you are seeing only one part, that either the influence of external energy, that how the Lord is so powerful and you are not able to see the change that is brought to you under the influence of internal energy, then maybe you are not in the category of pure devotee. So this is one measurement we need to do for ourselves, whether I am a pure devotee or not. So there are two situations. Either one is foolish and whimsical, hence the foolish person is ignoring the criticism, or the person is a pure devotee, hence he is able to tolerate the criticism. So we should not try to act as a pure devotee that artificially not getting affected by some criticism without being qualified as a pure devotee, because somehow this will come back to affect my consciousness. Hence, learn to deal with the situation properly without being whimsical. To the degree I can tolerate, I will tolerate. If I am not able to tolerate, then learn how to deal with such difficult situation by discussing with a senior devotee. How did Vidura take the ill treatment given by Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana? Vidura is driven out of the palace. Still, Vidura is saying such activity on the part of Dhritarashtra and Duryodhana was not harmful for me, but actually Dhritarashtra's act was beneficial for me. This is what Vidura is saying. Vidura took advantage of the family misunderstanding to go to pilgrimage. Srila Prabhupada makes an important point that in such misunderstanding situation, Vidura is still able to find life's goal. Even within such disturbances created in worldly matters, those who are saintly are able to see the good and look at life's goal. Vidura left home. Vidura's home is described as very prosperous because Krishna visited Vidura's house. When Krishna came as peace messenger, before the assembly, Duryodhana had arranged a big reception for Krishna. But Krishna did not go to Duryodhana. Rather, Krishna went to Vidura's house, meaning Krishna accepted Vidura's and Pandava's house as his own. Hence, it was very difficult for Vidura to leave such a home. But still, Vidura left, understanding that the Lord and the Yog Maya has a bigger plan for him. Krishna was already physically present. But Vidura did not go to Krishna directly to get purified. Instead, Vidura went to holy places of pilgrimage because Vidura has been surviving on Duryodhana. Hence, Vidura saying that I am definitely not pure. Therefore, let me become more purified by visiting holy places to build some piety by hearing from pure devotees at holy places. This is the humble nature of devotee. That devotee never thinks, I can reach out to the Lord at all times. Rather, the devotee serves the Lord very nicely. The purpose of going to pilgrimage is to get a chance to glorify the Lord, to hear from pure devotees, to serve the pure devotees. Krishna has appeared in the Archa Murti form to accept our service. If Archa form is not bona fide, then will not get the benefit, just as the analogy of the post office is described. If one puts letters in post boxes authorized by the General Post Office, the function of carrying letters is performed without doubt. Similarly, the Archa Murti can also deliver the same unlimited potency of the Lord when he is personally present. Similarly, the Archa Murti can also deliver unlimited potency in everyone, just when the Lord was personally present. Vidura finally meets Uddhava and Vidura inquires about all the Yadus and Vrishnis, starting with Krishna and Balram. The analogy of antiseptic is described that under what circumstances can you apply this antiseptic to stop the growth of material microorganism? The answer is, if you are in constant thought of Krishna, then the antiseptic will work. Then the material world contamination will not affect you. Finally, Vidura requests Uddhava to hear more and more Krishna Katha. That's a quick summary of Canto 3, Chapter 1. Any questions, comments, realizations? Okay, let's do chapter number 2. Chandran is going to start.
Hare Krishna, all devotees, Dhananda Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Sri Radha Krishna seeking permission and unable to speak. Unit 8, Canto 3 and Chapter 2, the remembrance of Lord Krishna. Part 1. Uddhava's exalted position. Vidura visited all the holy places and associated with the sadhus to glorify more and more, to hear Krishna Katha. Asked him about the Lord. Uddhava was a Nitya Siddha, a liberated soul, and cannot forget the Lord even at his old age because of his excessive anxiety and remembrance from his young age, and was the Lord's devotee. So this attitude of service never slackened Uddhava. So on spiritual plane, the service is never tiresome. The moment Vidura questioned him, he forgot himself on physical plane, which is the sign of pure devotional service to the Lord. His body did not move. He was speechless and went to deep ecstasy. This is mostly experienced by the highly advanced devotees. All the 8 kinds of signs were manifested by Uddhava in the presence of Vidura. So, Uddhava could reach the spiritual planet and still appear in this world. Part 2 is unfortunate situation of Yadu and others. Vidura was in great sorrow with the annihilation of Yadu family and his wound. Yadus could not recognize the Lord as the Supreme Personality in spite of seeing all his godly qualities. Appearance in the prison, Mausala Leela, with 6 opulences. Vidura regretted it is very unfortunate and did not live with him and to do service to him. So I am unfortunate and lamented on his own misfortune. Whereas Dwaraka was his elevated and fortunately lived with Krishna, but considered the Lord as a master or a person with supreme power, but did not raise to the level of devotion. So they were also unfortunate. According to Vedas and Acharyas, Lord is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, was accepted by different classes of men differently. When he was present in this world, their calculations about the Lord were ended differently. So they were also unfortunate. Yadus were only partially knew and accepted Lord as the head of the family. So they were also unfortunate. So Lord can be known only by his own mercy. Hare Krishna.
Okay, very good. Shalini.
Hare Krishna, dear devotees, Dandavat Pranam. Seeking permission from you all, Srila Prabhupada, all gurus in disciplic succession, and Sri Radha and Krishna, I would like to summarize Canto 2, Chapter 2, Parts 3, 4 and 5. Please forgive me for any shortcomings and mistakes. Uddhava is remembering the attractive beauty of the Lord. The Lord appeared in an eternal human-like form in this world to perform his pastimes. When the Lord wears ornaments, the Lord isn't beautified by them, but the ornaments are getting beautified because the Lord wears them. Bhushana Bhushanangam. He is the ornament of ornaments. As you can see the image in front of us, it's clearly visible. Seeing Krishna's beautiful human-like form, even his expansions, Vishnu and Narayan, are astonished. The blue lotus flower and the moon, which are most beautiful, were defeated by the Lord's beauty. Uddhava remembers how the gopis were always so absorbed by Krishna that they even forgot their household chores when they saw him. And when Krishna left Vrindavan, they were overwhelmed by feelings of separation. They used to follow him with their eyes and minds, and this is the highest form of worship. Further, Uddhava is remembering all the bewildering activities of Krishna. The Lord is unborn, yet he descends to protect his devotees whenever there is friction between devotees and non-devotees, to give pleasure to them and to establish religious principles. Although he could protect his parents when he was born, he left Devaki and Vasudev and went to Vrindavan out of fear and lived incognito. He did not kill Kamsa as if he was afraid of him. All this is bewildering to Uddhava. On returning from Vrindavan after more than a decade, he apologized to his parents and stated that he had come to render service. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and still he is serving his parents. Thus, we must all serve Krishna, who is the seed-giving father for all living entities. Next, Uddhava remembers the Lord's merciful activities. The Lord gave liberation to Shishupal, who was envious of Krishna. He also purified the soldiers on the Kaurava side. Krishna showed them mercy by giving darshan when they were about to die. They were killed by the arrows of a devotee in the presence of the Lord and went to Vaikuntha planets. Krishna also liberated Putana, who had come to kill the Lord. Krishna gave the highest reward and didn't see the bad intention. Lord Krishna accepted the motherhood of Putana because she pretended to be an affectionate mother. Krishna gives liberation and benedictions even to demons. There cannot be anyone who is more merciful than the Lord. That is why Krishna is called Purushottama, which means gentleness, forgiveness, and tolerance. Uddhava glorifies Krishna as the master of the 3 planetary systems, 3 modes, 3 guna avataras, master of 6 opulences. He is Triyadisha. It is the duty of everyone, whoever and wherever one may be, to surrender completely unto him. Although there is no difference between the Lord's pastimes and pastimes of appearance and disappearance, the devotees of the Lord generally do not like to discuss the subject and matter of his disappearance. Therefore, Vidura inquired indirectly from Uddhava about the incident of the Lord's disappearance by asking him to relate Krishna Katha. Thus, Uddhava starts remembering Krishna's childhood Vraja pastimes. Krishna was born in a prison cell of Kamsa to Devaki and Vasudev. Then Vasudev took Krishna to Yashoda's house. Vasudeva's thought of protecting Krishna from the wrath of Kamsa is a part of a transcendental relationship. The Lord enjoys more when someone takes him as a subordinate son who needs the protection of a father, rather than someone accepts him as a supreme Lord. The beauty of Vrindavan is described in how the land is non-different than Krishna. In Vrindavan, Krishna grew up and performed many enchanting activities with the cowherd boys playing his transcendental flute. He would take care of the cows and calves, laugh and cry just like a child. Kamsa sent many demons to kill Krishna, and Krishna killed them like toys. He chastised Kalia and drove him away from Vrindavan. When Indra created the devastating rain, Krishna lifted the Govardhan hill on his little finger and held it for 7 days and 7 nights and gave his association to all the Vrajvasis with their heartfelt feelings and emotions. The way Krishna shows reciprocation of mercy to devotee is his topmost quality. Before leaving Vrindavan, the Lord pleased the transcendental gopis in his Ras Leela pastimes. Thus ends Chapter 2. Hare Krishna.
Okay, super excellent. Anybody has any questions, comments, realizations for Mother Chandra Aunty and Shalini's presentation?
Very good, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Super excellent presentation, Prabhuji, by both the Matajis. Hare Krishna.
Okay, very good. I will also do a quick chapter 2 presentation. My summary is not as great as the 2 presenters that just did very nice presentation, but I will still attempt. Canto 3, chapter 2 is titled Remembrance of Lord Krishna. First, Uddhava's exalted position is described, that when Vidura asked about Krishna, Uddhava could not answer to Vidura because of separation from Krishna. Gradually, Uddhava got into remembrance of Krishna and Krishna's childhood activities. Uddhava apparently forgot everything, and upon questions from Vidura, Uddhava simply remembered Krishna. Uddhava and Parikshit Maharaj are exalted personalities. When Uddhava was 5 years of age, he would make image of Krishna, offer items of worship to Krishna. Uddhava did not want to eat because Uddhava was thinking that his worship of Krishna was still incomplete. And only after completing the worship will Uddhava eat. Why? Because Uddhava is not in bodily concept. Even though Uddhava's body age, still Uddhava's services increased more and more, and Uddhava did not feel tired at all. In the material world, with old age, one retires from active duty. But when acting at the level of soul, services increase and increase. In material world, there is retirement. But in spiritual world, there is no retirement. One can render service till end of life because devotee not rendering service at bodily level. As age increases, bliss increases. Service attitude increases. Not like in the material level, whereby increase in age, working ability decreases. At soul level, there is no tiredness. Tiredness is at bodily level. When Vidura asking questions, Uddhava went into ecstasy for one muhurta because Uddhava started remembering all the particulars of the Lord when Lord was present. Uddhava actually got transferred to the transcendental plane. There he met Krishna face to face, and there Krishna pacified Uddhava and asked Uddhava to go back to the earthly consciousness because Vidura is waiting to hear back from Uddhava. Uddhava describes the unfortunate situation of Yadus, that because Dwarka residents did not realize the Bhagwan aspect of the Lord, Uddhava chastises Yadus only out of bewilderment and prema. Uddhava is also Yadu and Dwarkavasi. Uddhava says that Uddhava himself is the only unfortunate. Dwarka residents are fortunate that they joined in the Lord's pastime. But Uddhava says, I am the only unfortunate because I, Uddhava, got separated from the Lord. The Dwarkavasis, they joined the pastime and went back with the Lord. Hence, only Uddhava is unfortunate. See the bewilderment of Uddhava. Dwarka residents considered Lord as Paramatma, although they recognize Lord's sweetness, but not Lord's greatness. Hence, they are unfortunate. Although Dwarkavasis, Yadus were intelligent, but by the strength of own intelligence, one cannot understand the Lord. Rather, one can understand the Lord only by Krishna's mercy. This is what the Lord wants to show to all of us. But since they all went back also, meaning the Yadus also went back, hence they are actually fortunate. But Uddhava saying, Uddhava, I am the only unfortunate one. How pure devotees always think to be most unfortunate, although they have direct association of the Lord, although they do direct personal service to the Lord, still they think themselves to be most unfortunate. This is the characteristics of a pure devotee. There is apparent contradiction that are Dwarkavasis fortunate or unfortunate? Jiva Goswami clarifies that Dwarkavasis are actually fortunate. Dwarkavasis also went back to the Lord. It's just a comparison with Vrajvasis. Vrajvasis did not know Krishna as Supreme Personality of Godhead. But no one says Vrajvasis are unfortunate. Rather, Vrajvasis are considered more fortunate. Cowherd boys playing with Krishna is the most fortunate. Uddhava is feeling how Vrajvasis had the love towards Krishna. That kind of love these Dwarkavasis did not develop. Hence, Dwarkavasis are unfortunate. Uddhava is actually glorifying Dwarkavasis that their intelligence cannot be bewildered. Dwarkavasis are actually glorious because they got direct association of the Lord and they also went back with the Lord. It's only that they did not rise to the level of Vrajvasis. Uddhava remembers the attractive beauty of the Lord. Krishna is ornament of the ornaments. Ornaments are not making the Lord beautiful. Lord is always beautiful. Rather, ornaments, the dresses, etc. are getting beautified. Ornaments sitting in the cupboard, there is no beauty. When dress is not offered to the Lord, we don't say the dress is beautiful. Lord is not getting beautiful by the dress and ornaments. Rather, the dress and the ornaments are getting beautiful because of the Lord's beauty. And Shalini rightly pointed out the beautiful Krishna, the cowherd boy Krishna on the screen that we have, the effulgent Krishna that we have. Lord Krishna's seemingly contradictory bewildering activities are described. Actually, there is no contradiction. And then the results achieved by Shishupal, the soldiers killed on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and Putana are compared. Shishupal achieved salvation of attaining oneness with the Supreme. Such Sahujya liberation is the perfection desired by Jnanis and Yogis, and for such perfection, the Jnanis, Yogis execute different types of transcendental activities. But then what is the big deal of such Sahujya liberation? Because even demons attain such Sahujya liberation. Shishupal saw Krishna, but saw Krishna as enemy. Hence, his love was not awakened. And thus, Shishupal achieved Sahujya liberation of merging with the impersonal Brahma Jyoti of the Lord. Now, this merging is only for the external people. There is a history there about Shishupal, that this is a Leela of the Lord, that how Shishupal and his brother were Jai Vijay. And Lord actually has a lot of affection for Jai Vijay, who are gatekeepers in his kingdom. Then the warriors on the opposite side of Arjuna were first purified of all material contamination by the onslaught of Arjuna's arrows. All activities of pure devotee are executed on behalf of the Lord, because pure devotee of the Lord has nothing to do with his personal interest. Hence, Arjuna's killing was as good as killing by the Lord himself, because Arjuna is a pure devotee. Hence, Arjuna's arrows also has the pure devotion potency. Such enemy warriors became eligible to be transferred to the spiritual sky, because within a fraction of a second of getting pierced by Arjuna's arrows, these demon warriors got purified and started appreciating Krishna. These warriors who appreciated the lotus feet of the Lord and saw Lord's beautiful lotus-like face, their dormant love of Godhead was awakened. And thus they were transferred at once to Vaikuntha, exactly as the devotees of the Lord achieved the abode of the Lord, and not the impersonal Brahmajyoti, as was the case with Shishupal. The Putana's pastime is an example of extreme mercy of the Lord, that even to his enemy, the Lord showed great mercy. Lord Krishna accepted motherhood of Putana because she pretended to be an affectionate mother. The Lord accepts the least qualification of the living entity and awards the highest reward. Putana only had a dress of a devotee, but Putana attained the love suitable for a devotee. Lastly, Krishna's childhood pastimes in Vraja and then in Mathura and Dwarka pastimes are briefly described in this chapter. I won't get into the details of those pastimes. They are described at great length in Canto 10. Here only a synopsis is given. That's a quick summary of chapter 2. Any questions, comments, realizations? Okay, let's do chapter 3. Kalyani.
Hare Krishna Prabhujis and Matajis, Dandavat Pranam. Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. Seeking the permission from all the devotees and blessings from Sri Radha Krishna, I would be presenting a brief summary of chapter 3 of Canto 3, titled The Lord's Pastimes out of Vrindavana. Please forgive for any shortcomings and mistakes. This chapter is divided into 4 sections. For section 1, Krishna's education and marriage. Section 2, killing of demons and Kurukshetra war. Section 3, Krishna in Dwaraka. Section 4, events leading to annihilation of Yadus. Section 1, Lord Krishna left Vrindavana to Madura city with Lord Baladev. To please their parents, they killed their maternal uncle and the great giant Kamsa, who had given so much trouble to their parents, Vasudeva and Devaki. Thus, the Lord proved to be a worthy son of his parents, even at the age of 16 years. The Lord learned all the Vedas simply by hearing them once from his teacher Sandipani Muni, whom he rewarded by bringing back his dead son from the region of Yamaloka. The Lord is constitutionally well versed in all the Vedas, and yet to teach by example that everyone must go to learn the Vedas from an authorized teacher and must satisfy the teacher by service and reward, he himself adopted this system. Princess Rukmini, the daughter of King Bhishmaka, was actually the form of goddess of fortune Lakshmi, who is the property of the Supreme Lord. But Shishupala was selected as her bridegroom by Rukmini's elder brother against the will of King Bhishmaka and Princess Rukmini. Rukmini invited Lord Krishna to take her away from the clutches of Shishupala. Thus, the Lord Krishna, stepping over the other hopeful candidates, carried her away as his own share, as Garuda carried away nectar. The Lord once went to the heavenly planet along with his wife Satyabhama. There is a special flowering tree called the Parijata, which grows only in the heavenly planets, and Satyabhama wanted this tree. Just to please his wife like an ordinary husband, the Lord brought back the tree, and this enraged the Indra. Being an henpecked husband, Indra dared to fight with Lord Krishna. Indra was a fool on this occasion because he forgot that the Lord is the proprietor of everything. Lord was not attached to Satyabhama because she was a beautiful wife, but he was pleased with her devotional service and thus wanted to reciprocate the unalloyed devotion of his devotee. Narakasura was the son of Dharitri, the earth, but he became a demon due to the bad association of Bana, another demon. An atheist is called a demon, and it is a fact that even a person born of good parents can turn into a demon by bad association. Narakasura kidnapped many daughters of great kings and kept them imprisoned in this palace. But when he was killed by the Lord, all the princes were enlivened with joy and offered to become his wives, because the Lord is the only friend of the distressed. Unless the Lord accepted them, there would be no chance of their being married because the demon kidnapped them from their father's custody, and therefore no one would agree to marry them. Section 2. Killing of demons and Kurukshetra war. After the death of Kamsa, when Mathura was encircled by the soldiers of enemies, the Lord seemingly fled from the city, and thus is known as Ranchor, or one who fled from fighting. Actually, the fact was that the Lord wanted to kill them through the agency of his own men, devotees like Muchukunda and Bhima. By such acts, the Lord wanted to exhibit the prowess of his devotees, as if he were personally unable to fight, but his devotees could kill them. Actually, the Lord descended at the request of Brahma in order to kill all the undesirables of the world. But to divide the share of glory, he sometimes engaged his devotees to take the credit. For example, the battle of Kurukshetra was designed by the Lord himself. But just to give credit to his devotee Arjuna, he played the part of charioteer, while Arjuna was given the chance to play the fighter. What he wants to do himself by his transcendental plans, he executes through his confidential devotees. That is the way of Lord's mercy towards his pure, unalloyed devotees. The fall of Duryodhana was not pleasing to the Lord, although it was he who advised Bhima how to break the thighs of Duryodhana while the fight was going on. The Lord is constrained to award punishment upon the wrongdoer, but he is not happy to award such punishment because the living entities are originally his part and parcels. He is harder than the thunderbolt for the wrongdoer and softer than the rose for the faithful. When Ashwatthama destroyed the embryo of Maharaja Parikshit, the Lord, by his own internal potency, entered in the womb of Uttara by his plenary portion, just to give audience to the would-be Maharaja Parikshit, who was in great danger. By his appearance within the womb, the Lord encouraged the child and gave him complete protection in a new body by his omnipotency. Lord Sri Krishna established Maharaja Yudhishthira in the position of supreme control of the world in order to show the ideal of administration on the path of piety. Section 3. Krishna in Dwaraka. Lord Krishna, being situated in the truths of Sankhya philosophy, is detached from all kinds of matter. Even though the Lord is never attached to any kind of material sex life, as a universal teacher, he remained a householder for many, many years, just to teach others by example that one should not remain attached to household life for all the days of one's life. one should naturally develop detachment as a matter of course. The Lord's detachment from household life does not indicate detachment from his eternal associates, the transcendental cow damsels. But the Lord decided to end his so-called attachment to the three modes of material nature. He can never be detached from the service of his transcendental associates like Rukmini and other goddess of fortune. Section 4. Events leading to annihilation of Yadus. At the end of the battle Kurukshetra, the Lord said, "There is still the great strength of the Yadu dynasty born of myself, which may be a more unbearable burden." When Lord Krishna referred to the unbearable heaviness on the earth in connection with Yadu dynasty, he was referring to the burden of the separation, because all of them were expansions of the Lord himself by his transcendental plenary expansions. They were a source of great pleasure for the earth. All the members of the family of Lord Krishna were incarnations of different demigods, and they were to disappear from the surface of the earth along with the Lord. When he referred to unbearable heaviness on the earth in connection with Yadu dynasty, he was referring to the burden of their separation. Srila Jiva Goswami confirmed this inference. The Lord and his associates appear and disappear by the will of the Lord. The only means, therefore, for the disappearance of Yadu dynasty was a make show of a fight among themselves, as if brawling in intoxication due to drinking. That so-called fighting would also take place by the will of the Lord. The cursing of the prince of Yadu dynasty by the sages was another transcendental pastime of the Lord to make a show of anger. The prince were cursed in order that one may know that even the descendants of the Lord, who could never be vanquished by any act of material nature, were subjected to the reactions of anger by great devotees of the Lord. One should therefore take great care and attention not to commit any offense at the feet of a devotee of the Lord. As a rule, every human being is indebted to God, the demigods, great sages, other living entities, people in general, forefathers, etc., for various contributions received from them. Thus, everyone is obliged to repay the debt of gratitude. The Yadus who went to the Prabhasa pilgrimage site at the end performed their duties by distributing land, gold, and well-nourished cows in royal charity. The behavior exhibited by the descendants of Yadu in the pilgrimage site of Prabhasa was highly cultured and exactly to the point of human perfection. The perfection of human life is attained by following three principles of civilization: protecting the cows, maintaining the Brahminical culture, and above all, becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. Thus, I would like to conclude the summary of this chapter by sharing the ultimate conclusion that the surest path to happiness is to live by the principles laid down by the Lord and not disobey his established laws, which are enacted in the Vedas and the Puranas for the forgetful living entities. Hare Krishna.
Okay, super excellent. Anybody has any questions, comments, realizations for Kalyani?
She has done very well, Prabhuji. Mataji.
Yeah, excellent presentation, Prabhu Mataji.
Yes, Prabhu, a very excellent presentation. All the points covered.
Yeah, very good. So I'll do a quick summary of chapter 3. Kalyani has already done a very good summary. My summary is a little brief, highlighting only a couple of important points. So Canto 3, chapter 3 is titled The Lord's Pastimes Out of Vrindavan. Krishna killed Kamsa for the pleasure of his parents. Question is, why did Krishna drag Kamsa? Acharyas have explained 4 reasons for Krishna dragging Kamsa. First, to make Vasudeva and Devaki happy, because so much suffering was there because of Kamsa. Krishna wanted to show that the suffering has come to an end. Second, Krishna wanted to assure demigods that Kamsa has become very powerful and Brahmaji had asked for help. Krishna promised help. Hence, Krishna dragging Kamsa to show to Brahmaji and the demigods. Third, Kamsa was very powerful. Even 4 people could not drag him. Hence, Krishna dragged Kamsa to the river. And the 4th reason, Krishna wanted to drag Kamsa in the holy land of Vraja. Krishna and Balram learned everything in 64 days from their spiritual master. Krishna showing that we have to accept a spiritual master. In Bhagavad Gita 4.34, It describes the process that by humility inquire from the spiritual master and serve the spiritual master. So Krishna is setting an example for this. And Srila Prabhupada explains that all should go to spiritual master to get knowledge. Krishna wanted to take all the yadus back to the spiritual world. And Lord referred to the yadus as more unbearable burden due to separation. Burden of husband on wife, burden of child on mother's lap, burden of wealth on businessmen. Although actual burdens from the viewpoint of heaviness are actually sources of pleasure. And in absence of such burdens on objects, one may feel burden of separation. When Lord Krishna is referring to burden of Yadu dynasty on earth, Krishna is referring to the burden of separation. The events leading to the annihilation of Yadus are actually magical performance by Krishna's internal potency. Otherwise, there is no chance of Krishna's Yadu dynasty getting intoxicated and fighting amongst themselves. And look at the behavior of the Yadus. They went to holy places, gave charity, performed all the rituals. So their behavior was anyway good. Just because someone is a son of Krishna does not mean one can deal with anyone and everyone inappropriately. Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport that one should not commit an offense against the devotee of the Lord. We have discussed this not committing offense against devotee of the Lord already second time today. Even if one is a son and grandson of Krishna, still one is subject to the result of offenses. So the lesson can be drawn from the cursing of the princes is that one should therefore take very great care and attention not to commit an offense at the feet of the devotee of the Lord. And in this chapter, Krishna's some important pastimes at Dwarka are described. I'm again not going to get into the detail of those pastimes. They are briefly described in this chapter, which are described at great length in Canto 10. That's a quick summary of chapter 3 with some key points rather than some in detail. Anybody has any questions, comments, realizations? Okay, chapter 4, Srila Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhujis and Matajis, Dandavat Pranams, all glories to Srila Prabhupada, seeking the permission and blessings from Sri Radha Krishna and all the devotees. I will be presenting a brief summary of chapter 4, part 1, 2, 3, and 4. And the chapter title is Vidura Approaches Maitreya. So in continuation with the previous chapter, so where the Yadus went to the Prabhas Kshetra and they were intoxicated and they all drank a kind of light liquor made of rice. And drinking is so harmful that even such a highly cultured family becomes affected by intoxication and can forget themselves in a drunken state. So that is the reason why the regulative principle of intoxication is being put by our acharyas. And continuing on, how they spoke very harsh, they spoke harsh words towards one another. And the Lord's internal potency, how the forest fire takes place by the will of the Lord due to friction. Similar way, the descendants of Yadu were all destroyed by the will of the Lord by the process of self-destruction. And Prabhupada explains about Tad Anugnata means following Krishna's order, as the Yadus were all the devotees of the Lord. And the particular pastimes of the Lord are not a manifestation of his external energy. However, it is the exhibition of this internal potency. And that is what is explained by Srila Jiva Goswami, and he comments that these are all magical performances. And the personality of Godhead, after foreseeing the end of the Yadu dynasty by his internal potency, went to the bank of river Saraswati and sipped water and sat under a banyan tree. So, and the Lord is the vanquisher of distresses of one who is surrendered unto the Supreme Lord. And thus he desired to destroy the Yadu dynasty, and he informed Uddhava to go to Badrikashrama and to meet the devotees of Narayana. And in their association of devotional service, Uddhava could increase his eagerness for chanting, hearing, knowledge, and detachment. And yet, in spite of Uddhava knowing the Lord's desire, Uddhava followed the Lord because it was impossible for Uddhava to bear separation from the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. And thus following, the Uddhava saw Master Lord Sri Krishna sitting alone and deeply thinking, taking shelter on the bank of river Saraswati. And Uddhava describes the beauty of Lord Krishna. The Lord is blackish, however, is eternal, full of bliss and knowledge, and very, very beautiful. And the Lord's eyes are always peaceful, and they are reddish like the rising morning sun. And Uddhava could immediately recognize the Supreme Lord as by his four hands, different symbolic representations. And the Lord wore yellow silk garments. And the Lord was sitting in a position under the banyan tree with his right lotus foot on his left thigh. And although he had left all household comforts, he looked quite cheerful in that posture. And the acharyas have explained the Lord's sitting posture as keeping his back against the newly grown banyan tree is also said that it is the Lord's external energy, which is at the back of the Lord. And if you look at over here, the Lord was now prepared to leave this particular universe and go into another universe, just as the sun rises on one particular planet and sets in another simultaneously, but does not change its own situation. And our universe is the smallest and the least complex. And because our Brahmaji has only 4 heads, other universes have Brahmajis more than, some have thousands, some have more than 1 lakh as well. This is a pastime that we will see in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And Maitreya, and at that time, Maitreya, who was a disciple of Parasara Muni, and Parasara Muni is the father of Vyasadeva. And Vyasadeva and Maitreya Muni are mutual friends and well-wishers. And by Ajnata Sukriti, by some unfortunate accident, Maitreya reached the place where Lord Sri Krishna was about to tell the Uddhava Gita. And Maitreya was not a pure devotee. However, after hearing from the Lord, Maitreya transformed into a pure devotee. And if you look at the Lord's attitude toward Uddhava was more intimate than that of Maitreya Muni. And the Lord spoke to Uddhava and Maitreya, and it is called Uddhava Gita. And after hearing, Maitreya became a pure devotee. And Uddhava Gita is more advanced than the Srimad Bhagavatam spoken to Lord Brahma. And the Lord explains how Uddhava is an eternal associate of the Lord and how he promised that this is the last lifetime and he can return back home, back to Godhead. Only the pure devotees can know by the mercy of the Lord that the personal association of the Lord is the highest perfection of life. And the Lord is just like a sun, and the sun does not appear or disappear in the sky. It is only the experience of men that in the morning the sun rises and in the evening the sun sets. The Lord is simultaneously both in Vaikuntha and everywhere, within and without Vaikuntha. And the Lord continued. So Uddhava a pure devotee like Uddhava has no material afflictions because he engages constantly in transcendental loving service of the Lord. And a devotee feels afflicted without the association of the Lord. And constant remembrance of the Lord's activities keeps the devotees alive. And thus, the knowledge of Srimad Bhagavatam was instructed, how it was instructed to Brahmaji, it was instructed to Uddhava and Maitreya. And Uddhava have studied the path of understanding self-knowledge from his spiritual master, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus, after circumambulating Lord Krishna, he came to this place and very much agreed due to separation. And then he proceeded to Badrikashram. Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Yes, super excellent. Chanan Prabhu.
Prabhu, can I go with you?
Right, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Invocation. All glories to the divine grace, Srila Prabhupada, Guru Parampara, and Sri Sri Radha Krishna, seeking permission from Guru and Gauranga to speak on the subject matter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 4. Seeking permission from all the assembled devotees for any of my shortcomings. Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Namah. Vidura sought spiritual knowledge from Uddhava. That is the subject. Vidura came to know from Uddhava that his friends and relatives, as well as the Yadu's dynasty, was totally annihilated in the Kurukshetra battle. He was highly advanced in transcendental knowledge. He was quite competent to purify himself by enlightenment. So he pacified himself, not reflected on it. One has to learn this art with higher transcendental knowledge. Because of Uddhava's advanced spiritual knowledge, Vidura also now advanced of his association. Vidura was older than Uddhava. It's like his father said. But Uddhava was considered as much superior because of his advanced devotional service to the Lord. Uddhava was described as the chief amongst the devotees of the Lord. This is an example to show how one to be courteous among devotees. The servants of the Lord are actually the servants of society. They have the activities in the transcendental relationship with real aim of human welfare. A living being is not the material body, but an eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Being. Without the knowledge of the human life, it is baffled. The knowledge which was received by Uddhava directly from the Lord deserves to be distributed in the human society, especially to Vidura, who was advanced in the devotional service of the Lord. Real transcendental knowledge descends in the disciple succession from the Lord to Uddhava, then it is to Vidura, and so on. Vidura was anxious to know from Uddhava that confidential knowledge known as Paraman Sthiti. Though Vidura was older than Uddhava, he was anxious to become servant of Uddhava in the transcendental relationship. Lord Chaitanya advises that one to receive transcendental knowledge from a person who knows the signs of Krishna as a bona fide spiritual master. It should be a bona fide spiritual master. According to the scriptural injunction, one should be very careful of transgressing the law of Maryada Vyadikrama. Without knowing, by doing, one loses his duration of life, his opulence, fame, and piety, and the blessings of all the world. Uddhava, aware of these technicalities, advised Vidura to approach Maitreya Rishi to gain transcendental knowledge. Vidura was as old as Uddhava's father, hence, to avoid the offenses of Maryada Vyadikrama, Uddhava did not accept Vidura as his disciple in the presence of Maitreya. The rule is that in the presence of higher personality, one should not be eager to impart instructions, even if one is competent and well-versed. The Lord never tolerates the impertinence of Maryada Vyadikrama. One should never pass over the honor due to an elderly spiritual master in the interest of one's own personal gain and fame. It is risky to progress in spiritual realization. Both Uddhava and Vidura were in great affliction because of Krishna's departure. More, they discussed the transcendental name, fame, and qualities of the Lord in that place. When the Lord is perceived as Vishwamurti, he becomes visible in the same form everywhere. Then the Uddhava's role after disappearance of the Lord. That is the caption. The direct association of the Lord, and after the end of his pastime, all the associations were dispatched to their respective position in the transcendental abode. Lord Krishna ordered Uddhava by signal to go to Badarikasrama after his departure. Uddhava, as a pure devotee of the Lord, carried out the order more faithfully than going back to Godhead or the abode of the Lord. That was the cause of his remaining alone even after the departure of the Lord from the face of the earth. It is stated that the Lord has innumerable forms. The non-devotees cannot understand this fact. The Lord's transcendental form is worshipped by devotees in different temples. Lord reserves the right of not being exposed to everyone. The Lord appeared on the invitations of Brahma. The Lord appeared all the forms of Vishnu amalgamated with him. When mission was fulfilled, all of them disintegrated from him in the usual course. Only persons engaged in devotional service can know the transcendental position of the Lord. Uddhava was considered as the best among the all devotees of this time. Therefore, he was directly instructed by the grace of Lord himself, so that people might take advantage of Uddhava's knowledge after disappearance of the Lord. This is one of the reasons why Uddhava was advised to go to Badarikasrama, where the Lord is personally represented by the Narayana deity. A devotee of the Lord always takes shelter of a recognized temple of the Lord to get transcendental knowledge by the grace of the Lord. Uddhava was unaffected by the material modes of nature. This stage of transcendental qualification is called Suddha Sattva or Vasudeva. A person who is able to attain this transcendental qualification is called Jivan Mukta or liberated, even though he is in material condition. His mind, action, and birds lived only for the transcendental living services of the God. Hence, he is a liberated soul. Thus, he was selected to be representative of the Lord in his bodily absence from the vision of the world. Such an eligible devotee is called as Goswami as per the scripture. Lord Krishna is the spiritual master of three worlds. He is the original source of all Vedic knowledge. Lord Krishna graced his specific mercy towards Arjuna and Uddhava while he was in the material world. The Lord wanted Uddhava to fulfill his mission and disseminate knowledge which he had not spoken even in Bhagavad Gita. Taking mercy on the great sages who lived at Badrikasrama, the Lord authorized Uddhava to speak on his behalf. Uddhava certainly informed of the conditions of life on the other planets. Uddhava was deputed to carry message to Badrikasrama to the sages as well as to Nara-Narayana deities. These messages were more confidential. As a pure devotee, Uddhava was as good as the Lord himself. One cannot understand Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam without the help of such confidential devotees of the Lord. Everyone must have been anxious to know about the mystery of the annihilation of the Yadu dynasty, and that message must have been explained by the Lord to Uddhava and dispatched to Badrikasrama for spreading the information to Nara Narayana and other pure devotees of the Lord. Vidura's enlightenment by Uddhava and further journey. The subject matter of the appearance and disappearance of the super soul, Lord Krishna, is a mystery even for the great sage. He exhibits his pastime in the mortal world in all the universes one after another. The Lord, by his unconceivable potency, is present everywhere, both spiritual and material skies. His eternal pastimes have no beginning or end. One has to learn only from pure devotees. The non-devotees who discuss about appearance and disappearance of Lord will enter into the darkest region of the hell. Anyone against the transcendental loving service of the Lord is more or less beastly creatures. Anyone against the transcendental knowledge is a beastly creature. Vidura was overwhelmed by the ecstasy of love when he understood that Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God, had thought of him at the last moment before his departure. Vidura was remembered by the Lord by his causeless mercy made to him. He started crying. He made him to cry. This crying is the last word in the path of devotional service. One who can cry for the Lord in love is certainly successful in the line of devotional service. After passing few days on the bank of Yamuna, Vidura reached the bank of Ganges to meet the great sage Maitreya. Where ends my presentation. I submit. Any correction, I apologize. Thank you.
Okay, super excellent. Let me quickly do chapter 4 summary. Canto 3, chapter 4 is titled Vidura Approaches Maitreya Muni. Krishna ordered Uddhava to go to Badrika Ashram first to take association from Nar Narayan Rishi so that Uddhava will not feel the pain of separation. And second reason is that at Badrika Ashram, curses will not have any effect. Uddhava did not follow Krishna's order, rather Uddhava followed Krishna and went to Prabhashetra. Krishna did not chastise Uddhava, that Krishna actually advised Uddhava to go to Badrika Ashram, and why is Uddhava following him. Uddhava took shelter of Krishna. Uddhava recognized that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead because Uddhava could see Krishna in his four-handed form. Lord Krishna met Uddhava and Maitreya Rishi, and Krishna spoke the Uddhav Gita. Maitreya Rishi is not a pure devotee at that point in time. Maitreya Rishi is a mixed devotee. Maitreya Rishi is bothered about philosophical speculation of the Lord. And Maitreya Rishi is not interested in performing pure devotional service to the Lord. Agyat Sukruti means accidentally or unknowingly or on its own accord, someone gets some spiritual reward. Hence, by this Agyat Sukruti, Maitreya Muni reached to where Krishna and Uddhava were talking, and because of some unknown devotional service. Pure devotees meeting the Lord is natural, but others meeting the Lord is because of Agyat Sukruti. Krishna spoke to Uddhava and Maitreya Muni, but this is known as Uddhav Gita and not Maitreya Gita or not Uddhava and Maitreya Gita. Because Krishna wants to speak this supreme secret to his pure devotee Uddhava, and Maitreya Muni happened to be there due to Agyat Sukruti. Of course, after hearing directly from the Lord, Maitreya Muni also became a pure devotee. The word Paramam Sthitim is very important. Word means the transcendental knowledge about the transcendental situation of the Lord. Srila Prabhupada explains Paramam Sthitim, that Lord's transcendental position was not even spoken to Brahmaji when Lord spoke the Srimad Bhagavatam Chaturshloki verses in Canto 3, Chapter 9, verses 33 to 36. The analogy of the young banyan tree is described as a comparison for this material world universe. The material energies represented by banyan tree are all products of his external energy and are therefore kept to his back. Because this particular universe is the smallest of all, the banyan tree is therefore designated as a small or as a child. Krishna disappeared from this material world soon after speaking the Uddhav Gita from Prabhashetra. Overwhelmed Uddhava glorified and prayed to the Lord. Some seemingly contradictory activities of Krishna are described, and Uddhava has no doubts about all these. Uddhava is simply bothered about other living entities because other living entities may get confused and hence criticize the Lord. Uddhava is bothered about those criticizing the Lord, but Uddhava himself is not bewildered by the Lord's different activities. That if the Lord is ever unborn, how is he born as son of Vasudeva and Devaki? He is fearful even to Kala, and yet he is fearful to fighting against Jarasandha. All these are contradictory or seemingly contradictory activities. Hearing from the Lord, Uddhava started for Badrika Ashram because Vani Seva is more important than Vapu Seva. And this is clearly described here, that execution of the Lord's service is the main occupation of the pure devotee. Uddhava is advised to go to Badrika Ashram because Uddhava is considered to be the best amongst all devotees at that time, and hence Uddhava was directly instructed by the Lord about the confidential knowledge about the Lord, so that people can take advantage of Uddhava's knowledge after the disappearance of the Lord from the vision of this world. Vidura sought spiritual knowledge from Uddhava. Vidura is asking about Uddhav Gita, that whatever Krishna spoke to Uddhava, Vidura is asking Uddhava to please speak the same knowledge to me, Vidura, also. Vidura came to know that Uddhava got transcendental knowledge directly from Krishna. Hence, Vidura also expressed his desire to get the same transcendental knowledge from Uddhava that Uddhava got from Krishna. Vidura also wanted to learn Uddhav Gita. Even though Uddhav is junior, Still, Vidura knew that Uddhava is advanced. Seniority is based on advancement in Krishna consciousness, not by material body age, but and not by when one gets initiation. Vidura is of fatherly age to Uddhava, but still Vidura knows that Uddhava is more advanced than Vidura. Hence, Vidura humbly requested to Uddhava that I, Vidura, also want to learn the same transcendental knowledge from Uddhava that Uddhava got from the Lord. Here, the offense of Maryada Vratikrama is described, that Vidura was much older to Uddhava, that Vidura was as elderly as Krishna's father Vasudeva. Although junior in age, Uddhava was much advanced in devotional service to the Lord, and hence Uddhava is described as chief amongst devotees of the Lord. Vidura was confident about Uddhava's advancement. Hence, Vidura addressed Uddhava in that higher category. This is the way of courteous dealing between devotees. Hence, Vidura asked that Uddhava described to Vidura the self-knowledge with which Uddhava was enlightened by the Lord himself. Although Uddhava is given the great preaching opportunity about Uddhav Gita, but Uddhava refused to teach to Vidura and directed Vidura to Maitreya Muni because of Maryada Vratikrama. Maryada Vratikrama means impertinently surpassing great personality. Although one may be well versed in transcendental science, one should be careful about Maryada Vratikrama offense. According to scriptural injunctions, if one transgresses the law of Maryada Vratikrama, one loses his duration of life, his opulence, fame, piety, and blessings, etc. Uddhava, being well versed of these technicalities of transcendental science, advised Vidura to approach Maitreya Muni to receive the transcendental knowledge. Uddhava could not accept Vidura as disciple, especially when Maitreya Muni was present nearby. The rule is that in presence of higher personality, one should not be very eager to impart instructions, even if one is competent and well versed. Since both Uddhava and Maitreya Muni were directly instructed by the Lord, both Uddhava and Maitreya Muni had the authority to become spiritual master of Vidura or anyone. But Maitreya Muni, being elderly, had the first claim to become spiritual master, especially for Vidura, because Vidura was much older than Uddhava. One should not be eager to become spiritual master cheaply for profit, fame, but one should become spiritual master only for service of the Lord. Lord never tolerates the impertinence of Maryada Vratikrama. One should never pass over the honor due to elderly spiritual master in the interest of one's own personal gain and fame. Lastly, Vidura cried very loudly because the Lord remembered Vidura. Srila Prabhupada explains this crying as the last word in devotional service. Does it mean that we should cry every time I should go to Gopinath? Actually, I should cry that I am not able to cry. Prabhupada explains about the hot tears. Hot tears means we are still in the material consciousness because I am not able to cry for my own so many faults. Srila Prabhupada explains that it should be cold tears, that those cold tears are real love for Krishna. Meaning artificially we don't have to cry. Crying should be natural because of devotional service. Tears may appear when we are in distress, not because of love. That's a quick summary of chapter 4 and unit 8. Any questions, comments, realizations? So all of you have done super excellent presentations. I have no feedback for you all. You all can visualize your own practice. And Shivangi can visualize her future as well, that how Shivangi is still in the process of learning the presentations while in her Bhagavad Gita batch. See how all devotees, they all started exactly where Shivangi is right now. But you all are now doing super excellent presentations. All of you did just talked about the essence, just stuck to the content of the chapters and stuck to the timeline in general. So thank you, everybody. I can visualize that you all are hearing our day-to-day class recordings with rapt attention from your various presentations. Thank you all. Anybody has any last points? We are just little over our time.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Just to add that, it is this is a very good recap for all of us to go through everybody's individual presentations and your presentations, Prabhu. It is very helpful. Thank you.
Okay, very good.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So
Yeah,
I'm hoping
see-
everybody is comfortable with the pace. We went real slow, not very slow, but at a reasonable pace. Especially this was a little heavy. Some chapters in Canto 3 will run a little faster. There is very little to discuss, but otherwise we'll go at this pace. So for the homework, read Canto 3, Chapter 5. We'll start from Chapter 5 from our next class. We'll stop here. Hare Krishna, everybody.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. It is a wonderful session today. Enjoyed and learned.
Thank you, Prabhuji.